are allegations that are on YouTube regarding none other than PDiddy. So here's one that I keep seeing. He had something to do with Kim Porter's death. Wasn't charged with anything to do with Kim Porter's death. Kim is the mother of his 4 children, and they had the twins together, they had Christian together, and Quincy, the oldest, is her son with deadbeat Albie Shaw. And he considers Puffy his dad. So he would have had to kill the mother of his 4 children. And there seems to be nothing other than Albie Shaw was going to write a book. Albie Shaw, the deadbeat, who didn't support his child. That one. Do we give a flying ass about what Albie Shaw says? And is Albie Shaw's words in a book enough for Puffy to kill Kim? Wouldn't he have killed Albie Shaw? Oh, I forgot Albie Shaw got sick now. But Albie Shaw is also extremely overweight and looks sick. And he's up in age, right? He's up in age. So I don't think that everybody who is around me who dies, I am a suspect in. That's the part of life. People die. And so they say all these people die around him. Yeah, there's a lot of people that have died around me too. And I'm sure if we stop, there's a lot of people that die around all of us, because that's just part of life. Dumb. Kim was in her 40s, I think late 40s, 47, 48, and she died from pneumonia, and that is suspicious. So I went to the Centre for Disease Control, the CDC's website, to see the mortality rates in the US for people dying from pneumonia. And the CDC said that it's got statistics for 2020 that there were 47,000 deaths in the United States from people dying from pneumonia. So I don't believe all 47,000 people who died of pneumonia they're suspecting that Puffy killed. But the fact that the mother of his 4 children died from pneumonia, and he seemed so devastated, didn't he? That was all an act. I mean, you can't have people dying around you. It's so stupid. They have nothing to say about this man. Let's go on to another myth that I hear. Puffy is responsible for Tupac's death. Why? Why would Puffy kill Tupac? I actually find the Tupac death bizarre, that there is some questions about it. I know I have seen Live from Death Row, brilliant documentary. And the second thing I've watched is the fight between Tupac and Orlando Anderson, who was a known Bloods or a Crips. I can't remember which side of the aisle he fell on, but he was a gang member, criminal. They were all at the Mike Tyson's fight at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. They beat up Orlando, and then Tupac is killed. I don't know why we look beyond Orlando, because then Orlando is killed a few months later. I don't know why we're looking beyond Orlando. It looks like Orlando did it. It's the most obvious choice, but maybe we want to sound like who killed Kennedy, and we're trying to create that kind of hysteria for what seems to be obvious. Orlando killed him. Orlando Anderson killed him after that fight that we see the night Tupac dies in the lobby of the MGM Grand. So I don't know what's so mystical. Now, where Puffy's name comes into that, I don't know. And now there's rumours that he killed Biggie Smalls. He is going to kill the biggest artist he has. You're going to kill your moneymaker. You're going to kill the person who you have a record deal with. Oh, he was going to leave. But I'm sure he had a, you know, I don't know, was it 5-album deal or whatever? He would have still made a significant amount of money. And if Biggie had built a label underneath him the way Arista has LaFace and all of that, he would have still made money. Other than the rumours that he killed Biggie because of what, that story don't make no sense, does it? It don't make no sense. And it's important to know that if there was any evidence of any wrongdoing whatsoever, the DOJ would have charged him with it, but they didn't. Because there is no evidence, nothing. There was baby oil because he was having threesomes. The other thing that you're hearing about is Justin Bieber. And again, if there were, or other minors, if there were any credible allegations of sex with minors, we wouldn't have to be going to baby oil. We would just say sex with minors. And that would have been enough to secure a big indictment like what they've got. Justin Bieber hasn't come out and said anything. Usher hasn't come out and said anything. And there are, I think there are some lawsuits, but they're at the civil level, not at the criminal level. He's indicted criminally. And if the DOJ felt that they were credible, they would amend the indictment to include sex with minors. But there don't seem to be anything credible. In fact, if you really do review the DOJ's statement of charges for Puffy, it really is just criminalizing the conduct for his relationship with Cassie. That's really what it is. It's sex trafficking because they had threesomes with sex workers. It's when they tried to leave, you would beat them. That was the beating we saw in the lobby. It's coercion. And that was part of her lawsuit, that she was young and was coerced and were given copious amounts of drugs. I'm sure she could have said no. There's nothing in there that says forced. And I think the key one is, were they consenting adults who went and had sex? So I went off in a tangent. I wanted to talk about the minors. Nothing supports the minors. Again, unsubstantiated myths to kind of fuel this frenzy about Puffy, this ogre. And nothing that I have read has changed my opinion that this man isn't an ogre. I would never have taken a job working for Puffy. He seems like an arsehole. I heard Jeff Bezos is an arsehole. I think Donald Trump is an arsehole. He loves saying you're fired. There is some similarities between all of those people, especially more like a Puffy and a Jeff Bezos, even though he did have some money from his family to start his business. But when they come from the bottom, now they're here, they're arrogant and they're arseholes. But there's nothing criminal about being an arsehole. There's nothing criminal about being determined. There's nothing criminal about being a pain in the ass boss. Nothing. The myths have to stop. And let's focus on what is in that criminal indictment. So yeah, I think even Rolling Stones, and I still didn't finish reading it because I couldn't believe the irresponsible journalism where they talked about Puffy is like the real Suge Knight. Puffy was 7,000 people who die from pneumonia every single year. I have no evidence that Christian and those twins didn't like their mum. And I'm going to tell you something. I adored my mother. And if I thought anybody killed her, dad, cousin, brother, me and them ain't going to be talking. But they seem to adore their daddy. They don't seem to think anything happened that Puffy was involved in Kim's demise. So they're who I'm going to look to, not the Jaguarites and all of these other unsuccessful people who were hating on this black man who came from the bottom and now he's here. I'm not looking at them. I'm looking at Kim's children and following their lead about how they feel about their dad as it relates to their mum. Without Puff, there would have been no Big. Without Puff, there would have been no Big. Biggie was a street guy on the streets of Brooklyn, and he packaged that as the Big Mac, Craig Mack and Biggie Smalls, and gave us that notorious B.I.G. And now, without nothing, they will undermine that man and say that he killed Biggie. Why? Somebody killed Biggie, but I don't know who that was. And if there was any slither of evidence that Puffy had something to do with it, I guarantee you the DOJ would have included that in their indictment. If there was a slither of anything to do with minors, I guarantee you the DOJ would have had that in their indictment. If there were any hints that he was involved in any way in the killing of or the death of Kim Porter, I guarantee you the DOJ would have included that in their indictment. Stop the foolishness. So I wanted to cover the rumours. I want to dispel the rumours. I want to focus on the facts. And I want us as black people to realise what is real here. To realise what is going on. You see, they're now trying to go after Jigga. They're trying to go after Jigga with a case from 2000. And we see Puffy and Jigga at an after party after the MTV Music Awards at the time that this victim said she was being raped. She was a 13-year-old at the MTV Music Awards by herself and somehow managed to cozy up and get with Puffy and Jay-Z. Please believe me, Jay-Z and Puffy aren't big in 2025. They were big in 2003. And you weren't going to be some little chick who could cozy up next to Puffy and Jay-Z even then. It's nonsense. Utter madness, utter nonsense. So I'm going to do another video dispelling some more myths. Dispelling myths of impropriety in the contracts that he has. Because that's the music business. It's a business. It's not just entertainment. I was looking at some comments and they said, yeah, all the drugs. Listen, without drugs, there's no Hollywood, for real. Without drugs, there's no Hollywood. Whitney died of drugs. Michael died of drugs. We can go even further back, right? What's the name? Marilyn Monroe died of drugs. That's way back. Recess rock and roll is real. That's the environment that they exist in. And I have no doubt that 95% of Hollywood takes drugs. So we won't have any movies, we won't have any music, none of that. Because all of them are on drugs. All of them. So that can't be the crime either, can it? If it's domestic violence is the crime. I don't remember this public outcry with the DOJ involved for Mel Gibson. When we hear him on the phone with his ex-wife bussing her behind. Who's the other one? Charlie Sheen. With his sex, drugs and rock roll. I think he now has HIV. And he was beating his women. And he was celebrated. We're not that outraged about domestic violence as a society, because us as women have been fighting for people to give us that respect and love. But all of a sudden, we give that respect and love to us when it comes to PDiddy. I hope I'm making my point clear here, because I don't want you to think, or anybody to think, that I condone domestic violence. I do not. I do not tolerate it in any form. But if that's what we are convicting him of then, or making allegations of, then it has to be at the state court level, and whoops, we've missed the statute of limitations. So that's not what we've got. We've got something else going on. We've got something else going on. Peace out.